Aghdashloo
سلام. خوب هستی؟
قربون شما
خوش آمدین به دوستان.
خیلی ممنون. مرسی برای اینکه دعوتم کردید.
خواهش
We're so delighted to have Shohreh Aghdashloo among us tonight. Since her Oscar-nominated role opposite Sir Ben Kingsley in House of Sand and Fog, Shohreh Aghdashloo has portrayed a vast array of complex and powerful characters in movies, television, and on the stage. During the 2005-2006 season, she captured audiences on the small screen as guest star on two popular television series, ER and Will and Grace. Prior to these appearances, she was a critically acclaimed guest star on the award-winning TV drama 24 opposite Kiefer Sutherland. In 2006, alone, Shohreh appeared in the movies American Dreams, The Lake House, X-Men: The Last Stand, and most recently, The Nativity Story, which was just in theaters. She will star in the forthcoming movie adaptation of the best-selling book, Reading Lolita in Tehran, and we really look forward to that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, honorable guests, and fellow artists. I am thrilled, honored, and delighted to be here tonight with you at such a prestigious event. Before I start talking about Majid Majidi, whom I'm sure you're familiar with his works, and Willow Tree, allow me to thank, first of all, the Museum of Fine Arts at Houston, Marianne, Ray, Rolf up there, Paul, Tracy, those people whom I have forgotten their names would forgive me. They've been really kind and nice, and I would like to thank them first for such a great task. And second of all, I would love to thank the women in film for their unflinching support and also for their beautiful bouquet. Gorgeous, thank you. Also, I would like to thank the Iranian American Society of Women for Education for their participation in this event. I would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Lajavardian and also Mansour Tagdisi for their hospitality. Willow Tree, Majid Majidi. I'm sure you're familiar with his works, and I'm sure you've seen one of his best works, The Children of the Sky, Bachehoy Asaman, in which he uses lots of metaphors and symbols, as it's customary in the Iranian cinema, to send his messages across. But in order to be able to understand what Majidi is trying to say, or what he's trying to portray, that is poverty, without even having to speak about it directly, we really need to understand what is going on in the Iranian cinema, or in other words, what has been going on for the last few decades. So I'm going to take you back 50 or 60 years at least, to tell you that as a result of colonialism, and also, as I refer to it, a mild tyranny during the Shah's reign, or Pahlavi's reign in Iran, Iranian filmmakers learned how to use symbols and metaphors without having to directly point out things that were not digestible by the censorship. And obviously, younger generation like myself back then soon learned how to read these metaphors. For example, if we would see a white bird in a cage, we would say it's the peace, of course, being captured by the people who are trying to manipulate peace. Or a red rose on its own meant a bloody battle. Soon, obviously, with the Islamic Republic taking over Iran, the censorship became even more heavier and lethal to those filmmakers who had no idea that Shah's reign has ended. And with the Islamic Republic, if, as a filmmaker, you want your film to be screened or shown to the public, you either have to serve their interest, which was obviously talking about the Islamic Republic victory, or Islamic Republic religious, social, and cultural, and political messages. Otherwise, your film would have not been shown. Therefore, they used even a lot more metaphors and symbols in their films to be able to send their messages across. Directors whom I can talk about, who have used a lot of metaphors and symbols in their works, are directors such as Meher Jui. I'm sure you're familiar with his work, The Cow, Golf, in which a villager loses his cow, and as a result, he first goes crazy, and then obviously he commits suicide. Meher Jui was trying to tell us that in the society back then, in the villages in Iran, a villager's life was depend on his animal, on the cow, on the sheep that they had. In other words, they really didn't have a life. It was all dependent on the crops and the animals that they had. Later on, as I said, obviously film directors under the Islamic Republic used a lot more metaphors and symbols. Military is a great example of that, of such a kind of cinema. Majidi is talking about a blind man who lives in a corner of the paradise, as he describes himself, when he miraculously gained his sight in France. But whether he likes what he sees, or he can identify with what he sees, is the question of the film, or the story of the film, or the sub-story of the film, which is much more interesting, fascinating, and more meaningful than the story of the film, which is about a blind man who obviously gains sight. What happens next, I'm not going to give the story out, but without giving it out, allow me to point out a few symbols and metaphors that I would like you to ask questions. After all, a good film, what it does, it brings about questions. It makes you go home and ask yourself, why did it happen? Why the director or the writer wanted me to see this scene? First of all, I want you to ask yourself as to why he goes to France to have this operation. As we all know, especially Iranians, that when it comes to such a great operation, eye operation, obviously United States, if not England, if not Germany, are the places that we would send our patients to. Why France? Is it because France has acted like a surrogate mother to our revolution? Is it because the Ayatollah was returned to Iran via Air France? I want you to ask yourself why he returns to Iran when he gains his sight. Why he returns to Iran in a rainy day? Why not a sunny day? Why, when he comes back, it's winter, and all the trees and their branches are dead? And why, when he comes back, he doesn't say anything? As a matter of fact, the reason I love this film so much, although technically minor to his other works, but I love this film so much, is because they don't talk a lot. In Iranian films, we're all familiar with Iranian films and how much they talk. They always talk. They talk about the things that you and I can see, and we do not need anybody to sort of tell us what's going on. In this one, you would see more and hear less. What Walt Disney once said about Fantasia was that Fantasia is a kind of film that when you watch it, you could see the music and hear the picture. I believe Willow Tree does the same thing. You could see the picture or hear the picture and see the meaning. I want you to ask yourself why on earth he's looking, when he gains his sight, he's looking at the ant that is trying to carry a piece of bread or something to eat with it. And why this is the first image and the last image that he sees when he gains his sight.